All right, so more than 2.5 months after he was named, President Cyril Ramaphosa has transferred those critical powers to his Minister of Electricity. In the State of the Nation address in early February, Ramaphosa announced that he would appoint a Minister of Electricity. In early March, he appointed Dr. Ramokgopa. Until now, he has not had formal executive powers. And as you heard there, he will now determine new generation capacity, what is needed, and what source of energy mix we will have. Let's speak to energy expert at Hohm Energy now, Matthew Cruz. Thank you for being with us. As always, Matthew, it's quite a while. He finally has a real job description, you could say. But the wait, was that a little tardy in the crisis that we're facing, or are there reasons for it?
So I would say yes, in terms of tardiness, that it is tardy that we have waited this long for the electricity minister to get these powers. And these powers, as laid out in Section 34 of the Electricity Regulation Act, are very exciting to see for the new electricity minister, as he is coming in with a different perspective and a different thinking to the previous Gwedi Mantashe that was ahead of this. So we're going to see some new generation capacity coming online quicker than we were going to see it before, which is very exciting to see.
Well, I'm glad you raised that. Ramaphosa transferring all powers and functions in the Electricity Regulation Act to the new minister. They were previously entrusted with the minister, like you said, Gwedi Mantashe. One of those powers is to procure new energy. Is this a comment on Mantashe and the speed at which he has added new generation power to the grid? Of course, he's been in charge of those bid windows for renewable energy.
So I would say it's not so much a commentary on Gwedi Mantashe and his performance. I would say it's more that we are looking at a new direction that we're going forward as a country. Whereas Gwedi has been in power for overseeing this responsibility for a while now, and we haven't really seen the kind of action and proactive action that we would expect and want to see from Gwedi in terms of foreseeing this energy crisis and then planning 5 years ago, 3 years ago, 2 years ago to make sure that the energy generation that was needed was in place now when we're in the situation where we're having stage 6 load shedding and Eskom has projected stage 8 load shedding over the winter. So there is maybe an aspect about performance, but it's not based off of that this has come about. This is more to do with the new way forward and the new way that things are going to operate going forward in the country. Very much speaking to the unbundling of Eskom into generation, transmission and distribution, and then how procurement of energy will be done in the country from independent power producers, which will be separate and outside of REIPP bid windows, no longer having to ask permission to Eskom and hope that Eskom allows for power to come onto the grid, have it being rather through a different process where Eskom is thankfully removed from who gets to put power on the grid.
Okay, so it's not a direct comment, but what does this mean for car power ships? If you can comment on that, something that Minister Gwedi Mantashe has championed. And I think where they are similar is that they both, I understand, are proponents of coal energy. Well, the fact that we need to extend coal energy while we expand renewables. Could we even be building a new coal-fired station, or would that just be impossible given the current global stance towards coal?
Great. So yes, as you rightly say, Ramokgopa has been saying, or the good minister of electricity has been saying that we shouldn't close down our power stations as we had planned to before their official kind of planning date that they could go to. We should actually extend when coal power stations were going to come offline. And this is very much in the context of the energy crisis. And the commentary from the good minister was saying that why would we turn off power stations when we actually are very much in need of power? So in terms of like the coal camp that we can say Gwedi was part of, I wouldn't say that the electricity minister is part of the coal camp. I would say that he's walking a middle road, if you had to think of it in terms of centrism, radical centrism. What is the best solution for South Africa? And in terms of that, in this energy crisis, it makes sense to not turn off power stations, even though we've made commitments to in the world through COP26, COP27, and we've taken money from America and Europe in terms of our carbon emission projections and our commitments. We're not going to be meeting those now, unfortunately, because of the aspect of extending the coal power station closure. So that's the one aspect of, okay, well, actually he's making wise decisions for what South Africa needs instead of pandering to global demands and global pressure. In terms of new coal generation, I highly doubt that we'll see any announcements within the next year or two regarding new power stations coming online. Firstly, because they take about 5 years to 8 years to actually come online internationally. South Africa is a different story when it comes to actually how long time it takes to come online. But secondly, there's no money available from the World Bank, from Europe, from America, even from China, in terms of new generation capacity that's coal. So what we will more likely see, though, is new allowances for battery and for localized gas. And the reason why I say localized gas, it's very different to car power ships. Car power ships are where we ship LNG, so we ship liquefied natural gas from Europe down to Africa to burn here. And we pay Europe for that gas, that carbon fuel. Localized gas, however, looks very different, where we have great onshore and offshore capabilities of getting gas, which is seen as a transitionary fuel across the world. Europe uses 30% gas. America uses roughly 30% gas as well. We're using no gas at the moment. So we would like to see some localized gas production of electricity, not necessarily shipping down ships from my side, but that's more of a commentary about car power ships in the 20-year span that was mentioned, and me not being a proponent of that. I really like what the minister was saying about a 5-year contract being offered instead of a 20-year contract, which makes a lot more sense in the context that we're in, because hopefully within 5 years we can start seeing a decline of load shedding. So in terms of that, the conversation is different now with this electricity minister, and we're going to see some more exciting and new announcements coming shortly from the government.
All right, we appreciate that overview. Thank you very much, energy expert from Hohm Energy, Matthew Cruz. And we'll see how Minister Gwede Mantashe responds. He previously called the new electricity minister a project manager, and some have argued it is now crowded at the top. We have 3 ministers directly involved, but let's see what the new electricity minister will, with his new powers, his powers finally delineated, actually does.